Right, this is Jay Fiddler from Fidz TV. Today I'm with Glyn Rhodes MBE down at the SBC Boxing Centre.
That's right, nice to have you boys.
Thank you. How did you get started then, Glyn?
I left school at 16, went to Faith Park School, and it's well documented, and Brendan will tell you this himself. I wasn't a very nice kid. Luckily at 16 started boxing with Brendan, walked into Brendan Ingall's gym, thought I could have a fight back in them days. I remember Brendan put me in a ring with a kid called Walter Clayton, who was junior ABA champion, and Brendan said to me, right, you can hit this kid and he won't hit you back. And I thought, oh, game on, I'm going to do the right job on this kid. Anyway, he absolutely turned me inside out, stood me on my head, and I remember he was smaller than me, younger than me, but he absolutely did a job on me. When I got out, he kind of like impressed me. I was really impressed that a kid who didn't look nothing could absolutely make me look a mug just by, he had knowledge. I was swinging like a windmill probably, and he just boxed, and he absolutely turned me inside out. So at 16, that's how it started. I stayed at Brendan's gym till I was 33. I never did achieve anything in amateurs. I had about 30 amateur fights, and I went on to have 65 pro fights, which is quite a lot, which understands like why I'm like I'm like, I had 65 pro fights, which is a lot by today's standards, and one of the things that I'm proud of is that, you know, I'm still alright. You see some fighters these days who've had a lot of fights and they're a bit worse for wear, and I think the reason I'm alright is because Brendan's style of boxing was to hit and not get hit, and that's what I try and do to our kids. You know, there's nothing clever about getting beat up or having a war, so we try and make all our guys fight and be a little bit elusive so they don't get hit. So anyway, so I stayed at Brendan's while I was 33, had a great time, boxed all over the place, places I'd never dreamt about. Remember I came off Shire Green, all I'd ever done up until boxing, hanging around at street corner. Once I started boxing, I went all over the country, and then Brendan got me fights in Switzerland, France twice, Italy twice, Germany, Portugal, a few other places I can't remember. But they were places that I'd never have gone if I'd have been hanging around at street corners. So then, when I retired at 33, I did have what I'd call a successful career, because I achieved a lot more than I ever dreamt I'd achieve. I never believed that I could be anything other than what I were. So you know, after retiring, I was quite happy to retire and think, you know what, I've had a good time. But then when you retire, you know, I wandered around in wilderness for about a year, wondering what am I going to do. I've been boxing since I was 16, and what do you do? Go and get a job. Doing what? I'd never worked, I'd never had a proper job, what you call a proper job. So I did usual mundane jobs, you know, labouring on a building site, working on a door, all usual things that a lot of ex-fighters have to do, because same thing, you know, you hope that you're going to achieve greatness in boxing and be financially secure. So when Brendan used to tell me you've got to get some education, kind of like went over my head, and you never think it's going to come, and then one day your career's over and you think, right, what do I do now? So at 33 it was time to get a job or start doing something else. I couldn't do anything. Luckily, some guy not too far from here opened a boxing gym and said to me, would you like to be a coach? Well, I'd never thought about coaching, because as far as I was concerned, once my boxing career was done, I was finished with boxing. But what else were you going to do? So I started training people at a gym down not too far from here. And it went good, and I thought, you know what, I'm enjoying this. Keeping involved in the game that I've been involved in for so many years, albeit at a lower level. But then, you know, we registered the club with the Amateur Boxing Association. We had a few kids turn amateur, get the amateur card, and you know, then you get the book for it, and you think, you know, this is what I want to do. So after that, I got another gym on Wyburn, which is not too far from here. I had that for a year, then another gym, and then we ended up here about, I think, in 1994. We ended up in here, Burton Street. We've been here ever since. Had some great times. We've had guys. We've had some great memories of people actually coming through this door in the last 20 odd years. You know, we've had guys box for world titles who've trained here. Richie Wendon boxed Marco Antonio Barrera, which was a great achievement to go to Atlantic City. Errol Graham boxed for world title, as well as a few other titles while he were here. Beat Vinny Pazienza while he was training here. Who else? Clinton Woods. One of the guys I always mention is Clinton Woods. Paul Jones trained here, former world champion. One of the guys that I always mention is Clinton Woods, because why I use Clinton as an example to the kids is he weren't the most talented kid in the world, but what he made up for with, he had a big heart, trained hard, you know, great chin, and he did everything that he could possibly do. So you know that when you're boxing Clinton Woods, he trained as hard as he was going to train or could train, and you know you're having a fight. Like I said, big heart, good chin, plenty of bottle. So they're the guys that I've been involved with at top level, and then you got the other guys further down the line. You know, guys who, lots of guys we've had come through the door who's trained and gone on to do things that they probably would never have done. The guy at the moment who's flying flag for Sheffield Boxing Centre, Sam Sheedy, you know, he's got a Commonwealth title fight next week. He's one of these guys who came to the gym as an 11-year-old kid, boxed in the amateurs, again, not a great amateur, never went on to win the ABAs or anything, but here we are now. He's boxed for a British title, boxed for the English title, and now he's boxed for the Commonwealth title. Both of the defeats that he's had have been by split decision. Both some good kids, you know. Nav Mansouri lost by split decision, which he never lost that fight for me. Tommy Langford, again, split decision, never lost it for me. But anyway, here we are boxing for Commonwealth title Friday. So he's one of these kids who, again, it just shows you what you can achieve if you just stick at it. He's had his, you know, he's been heartbroken. Again, I remember when he boxed Nav Mansouri, we were all crying in changing rooms, you know, which, you know, big tough ass boxers were all in changing rooms crying, and we're all upset because he did everything and he lost by I don't know whatever you want to say, lost by a dodgy decision, but no disrespect to Nav. And then the same again when he boxed Langford, who just recently been knocked out by a kid who he should have stood that kid on his head. You know, the kid had got no footwork, got no style, but just came forward throwing punches, and he got lucky. Caught Tommy with a good shot. Tommy got knocked out too. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, we've had some great times here, and you know, hopefully we'll be here for many more. You've seen the gym; it's busy tonight, so we're doing something right. So,
right. Do you have any regrets?
You know, you look back on your career and you think to yourself, "Oh, I should have done this." A lot of people will tell you the one thing that I should have done in my career as a boxer is I should have trained harder. A lot of people will say I had a lot of ability, but because I wouldn't train, you know, I was losing to kids that I should never have lost to, just because basically I weren't fit enough. You know, I'd tell Brendan that I'd been training. Yeah, Brendan, I've been running. He knew I'd not been running. So all the things that Brendan used to say to me, I find myself saying to kids in my gym now. So yeah, I've got regrets. I think I could have done a lot more. I could have achieved a lot more if I'd been a bit more dedicated. But as for regrets, you can't say that, because look at where I am now. So yeah, I could have done a lot better probably in my boxing career. But as for regrets, I've not really got many regrets.
How did you get your MBE?
Well, one of the things I'm proud of in the 20 odd years that we've been here is the fact that we've done a lot of fundraising. There's not many gyms in England can say they've raised over £300,000 for charity. We've got the certificates out here to prove it. Mainly for Children's Hospital. We do a lot of work for the Children's Hospital. And it's not just me. So even though I'm the one that got the MBE, I feel a little bit fortunate, because it's the whole package. You know, we all the fundraising we've done it as a gym, as a community. So the reason I got the MBE were partly because of the boxing in the community, but partly because we've also raised over £300,000, which is for a little smelly boxing gym like this to raise that amount. All right, it's took over 20 years, but I can put my hand up and say there's not many little smelly gyms like this raise over 300 grand for charity.
Right, well done. Your biggest achievement?
Well, looking back, I'd say one of my biggest, the biggest achievement is obviously getting the MBE. For somebody like me, for some reason I've kept my last school report, and on it actually says, well, with the attitude that he's got, to maintain the attitude that he's got, I should know it by heart, to maintain the attitude that he's got will only lead to disaster in later life. Well, that just shows you how wrong school teachers can be, and school teachers shouldn't put that on a kid's record. You know, what we try and do with kids here is encourage them rather than tell them that kind of thing. So, you know, the teacher that wrote that on my last report, you know, it looks pretty stupid now. Here I'm sat with an MBE running a successful gym. So what I try to do with kids here is encourage. You know, we can't all be doctors and scientists, but just because you can't be, you know, academically a smart kid, you don't mean that you can't go on to achieve you know, something like myself, you know, stupid at school. You know, I think one of the reasons I wasn't very good at school is the teachers didn't know how to teach. Part of teaching a kid, for me, and getting the best out of a kid is keeping him involved. I mean, I'm like 90% of kids that I used to hang around with, you know, when the teacher would, I was looking out the window, and that's because you're bored. So the art of teaching a kid is keeping that kid involved in what you're trying to do. And like I say, I spent half my school just gazing out the window. So, like I say, you can't all go on to be scientists and doctors, but you can. What I always say to the kids in here, you might not be academically smart, but you can still go on to achieve things through sport, football, boxing. You know, if you look at some of the greatest footballers that have ever lived, some of the greatest boxers, they've all been from working class backgrounds, and so you know you can still achieve things by getting involved in sports. So that's what we try and tell all the kids here. You know, keep in the gym, hang around in the gym, because you know what it's like now, hanging around the street corners. Like when I was a kid, what we used to do is hang around the street corners and get in trouble because it was more exciting than doing the things that you should have been doing. So if you get involved in sport, you know, like I say football, I don't know, anything, rather than hanging around the street, rather than hanging around the street corners, because it only leads to one thing, and it's getting terrible out there. It's getting scary now. I've got kids. I don't know if you've got kids, but you know, when you think about your kids hanging around on the streets now, it's scary.
I've got a 6-month-old Ariana. She's been a bit next to Katie Taylor when she's on. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be.
You hope she is. You hope that, yeah.
Right then, Glyn, your all-time boxing heroes.
I always say this, and as you'll probably look, you look around my gym, and you know this guy here, that guy there. There's so many pictures in here of Muhammad Ali. For me, he's the greatest sportsman that's ever lived. Not just because of the way he's boxed and how he used to box and how he did, but for what he was willing to give up when he was at the top of his game. Don't forget, the heavyweight champion of the world, and for something that he believed in, you know, he was willing to give all that up and say, you know what, I don't care. I believe in what I believe in. You can take my title, and they did. They took his title off him for something that believed in. How many sportsmen these days, or film stars, or rock stars, whatever, would give up something they believe in? And you know, back in them days, well, in the 60s, things were a lot worse than they are now. So my greatest hero of all time, and the greatest boxer for me, to do what he did in the time that he did it, in the era that he did it, and for an heavyweight to move like him, Muhammad Ali. And while we're on that point, I went to his funeral. He was mad at how I did it. As soon as I found out, you know, like we all did, we all woke up to the news that, you know, breaking news, you know, like when Elvis died or Michael Jackson, it's all over the news. So when I woke up, for some reason I found myself booking a flight to Louisville. Don't ask me where Louisville is, it's just, you know, it's not somewhere you walk in travel agents and say, oh, I want to have a holiday in Louisville. So I just thought to myself, because he's been such a hero of mine all my boxing career, I just thought, I've got to go. I don't know why, but I found myself catching a flight to Chicago and then to Louisville, and it was, in a strange sort of way, it's one of the best experiences of my life, but one of the saddest as well, you know. But you only got to see how many people turned up at his funeral. You couldn't even get in the arena where it was held. But I met, so many things happened that were just unbelievable. I thought to myself the next day, I want to go to the Muhammad Ali Museum the day after the funeral. So I thought I'll get there really early, which I did. I sees a guy with a camera on his neck. Obviously I thought he's a tourist. I asked him what time he opened this place, and he said, where are you from? I said, England. He said, so am I. I said, you're joking. He actually lived in Louisville. He said to me, do you want to go to the cemetery? Where's, you know, Cavell Cemetery? He says, there's a private ceremony taking place. So, you know, I'm thinking, jumping in a car that I've never met with a guy, you know. Anyway, I jumped in his car, he drove me to the cemetery. I'll show you the video. We actually got there, the first car in the cemetery, just obviously as Muhammad Ali's body had been laid to rest the day before. And I thought, that's really strange to just turn up in Louisville and meet another guy from England who texted me to. And also that night he took me out for a meal, met his wife, met his family. That was that one. Then another one, this is the impact that Muhammad Ali has had on the world. I got in a taxi. The taxi driver said to me, have you been to the childhood home of Muhammad Ali yet? I went, no. He went, I'm going to take you free of charge. So I'm thinking, free of charge? So the taxi driver, I ended up paying him just because I was so happy to travel. He took me downtown to Muhammad Ali's childhood home. The home where he grew up as a child. There's pictures out there, I'll show you after. And you know, he waited for me, and he didn't want to charge me. And he says, no, you don't have to pay. I'm thinking, again, you know, how many countries would you go in where the taxi driver would take you free of charge? It just doesn't happen, but that's the power that Muhammad Ali had on everybody. I got there, talked to so many people who were brilliant, honestly were, in a strange sort of way. You know, you're there for a funeral, but for me, I'd never have been to Louisville. So for me to travel there, it's probably one of the biggest experiences that I've ever had in boxing, and I'm glad I did it. Even though I ended up flying around the world, I ended up going to Chicago. It was a journey and a half to get back, but I'm just glad I went.
Right, what's your predictions on the weekend fight with Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko?
Well, you know, you got to look at it like this. People were asking me a few months ago what were your predictions with David A and Tony Bellew, and everybody went, David A is going to do this, David A is going to do that, and what happened? Tony Bellew ended up winning. So what? If you look at the statistics and the form book, yeah, Anthony Joshua is a young kid, you know, he's on the way up, whereas Klitschko's on the way down. Is he 41? I think it's about 41 years old.
Yeah.
So, in theory, you know, Joshua should win. But what I always said to people, and I said this about David A and Tony Bellew, is that when you've got two big guys in a ring like them throwing punches at each other, you know, anything can happen. So yeah, I think Joshua should win because he's the young up and coming star. You know, what has Klitschko got left? Has he got any ambition left? You know, once he gets hit with a good shot, he's going to start asking himself, what am I doing here? So yeah, in theory, I'm going for Joshua on a stoppage. But as I said, when you get two big guys in the ring like that, and these are our big guys, you know, these are what you call proper heavyweights, not heavyweights as in the sense that some of them, you know, like blown up light heavyweights, cruiserweights. These are proper specimens. You know, if you look at Joshua, what a unit he is. So I just think, you know, if one of them lands on the other one, anything can happen. So I'm not making no predictions.
Also, Brooke Spence.
Again, I think, you know, Spence is a good fighter, but I honestly just think that Kell's going to have too much for him. I was impressed when he came to the press conference, went to the one at Brown Lane, and I was impressed with how he carried himself and everything, and how he spoke and everything. But I just think Kell's just going to have a little bit too much for him. You know, Kell's a very heavy-handed kid. You know, you look at Kell against Glotkin, and you can't really, you know, look at that fight and make an assessment or anything, because you know he's a special heavy-handed kid, isn't it? But I'm definitely going for Kell to beat him.
Right, Glyn Rhodes, that's Jay Fiddler from Fidz TV. Thank you very much for your interview.
Thanks very much for coming.